click. You've heard it 10,000 times, maybe more. You slide into your seat, reach across your body, pull the strap, push it into the buckle. And without thinking, without meaning to, you just saved your own life. You didn't notice. You never do. That single gesture, so automatic it barely registers as a decision anymore, is statistically the most life-saving action a human being performs in their daily routine. More than any medicine, more than any diet, more than almost any choice you'll consciously make today. One click, one strap across your chest, and you are, in that moment, dramatically less likely to die. Now here is what nobody ever tells you. That strap almost didn't exist. The man who invented it fought for years to be heard. The car companies actively resisted it, and when he finally won, he gave the patent away for free. Today at Origin Unlocked, we will be unlocking the story of Nils Bohlin, the engineer who cared more about your life than his own fortune, and the near-drowning experience in the freezing waters of Sweden that set all of it in motion. Sweden, 1920. A boy is born in the small coastal town of Härnösand, a place where the winters are long, the Baltic Sea is ice-cold, and water is both beautiful and terrifying. His name is Nils Bohlin. We don't know exactly what happened to him near that water as a child. The records are thin, the details private. What we do know, from colleagues who worked alongside him for decades, is that Nils Bohlin carried a deep, formative understanding of how quickly a human body can be taken by forces it cannot control. Water, speed, impact, momentum. Forces that don't negotiate. Forces that don't care how careful you were. And that understanding, that quiet, personal knowledge of human fragility, would shape every single professional decision he ever made. Bohlin grew up to become an engineer. Not just any engineer, an aviation safety engineer at Saab. His job was to solve one of the most terrifying problems in aerospace. How do you keep a pilot alive when everything goes catastrophically wrong at 30,000 feet? He designed ejector seats, explosive mechanisms that could blast a pilot clear of a disintegrating aircraft in a fraction of a second. He designed harnesses that could absorb the violent, body-crushing forces of emergency ejection without breaking the person inside them. Nils Bohlin understood, better than almost anyone alive, exactly what the human body can and cannot survive. And then, in 1958, he changed careers. A man named Gunnar Engellau, the CEO of Volvo, came looking for him. Engellau had recently lost a close family member in a car crash. The cause? A seatbelt that failed. Not because seatbelts don't work, but because the only seatbelt available at the time was a cheap, 2-point lap belt that snapped across the abdomen. In a high-speed crash, that lap belt didn't hold the body. It folded it, like paper. Before 1959, the only seatbelts in cars were simple, 2-point lap belts buckled across the stomach. In serious crashes, they were known to cause catastrophic internal injuries, sometimes worse than no belt at all. Racing drivers used more elaborate harnesses, but the average family car offered almost no meaningful upper body protection whatsoever. Engellau hired Bohlin as Volvo's very first chief safety engineer. He gave him one instruction: build something better. Bohlin had spent years working with elaborate 4-point aviation harnesses, the kind that wrap around both shoulders and both hips and require precise adjustment. He knew those worked brilliantly. He also knew they would never work in a car. A pilot has seconds to strap in. A parent loading 3 children into a vehicle on a Tuesday morning has roughly 4 seconds of patience before someone starts crying. The solution had to be instant, intuitive, undeniable. Bohlin spent less than a year on the problem, and what he came back with was almost absurdly simple. Two straps, meeting at the hip, buckling into one single anchor point. One strap across the lap, one strap across the chest and shoulder. Together, they spread the forces of a crash across the strongest parts of the human body. The pelvis, the rib cage, the collarbone, away from the soft, vulnerable abdomen. Away from the organs a lap belt would crush. Later, Bohlin described the solution in a way that perfectly captures his genius. It was just a matter of finding a solution that was simple, effective, and could be put on conveniently with one hand. One hand. That was his standard. Not just safe, but so easy, so fast, so natural that a person would actually use it. In 1959, Volvo introduced the three-point seatbelt as standard equipment on two of its models, the Amazon and the PV 544. Standard. Not optional, not an upgrade. Standard. Because Bohlin understood something the entire automotive industry had missed. If safety is a choice, most people won't choose it. It has to be the default. It has to already be there when you sit down. Engineers later estimated that the three-point seatbelt reduces the risk of death in a frontal crash by 57% and in a side impact crash by 44%. The German Patent Office later named it one of the 8 most important patents to benefit humanity in the entire 100-year period, from 1885 to 1985, alongside inventions like the combustion engine and the telephone. Here is where the story gets hard to hear. Volvo had done something extraordinary. They had a solution to one of the leading causes of death in the modern world, a cheap, elegant, proven solution that could be installed in every car on Earth for almost nothing. And the car industry's response? Resistance. When Ford offered seatbelts as an optional extra in 1956, 3 years before Bohlin's design, only 2% of buyers chose them. Car companies took this as proof that the public didn't want safety. What it actually proved was that nobody had made safety easy enough to be automatic. General Motors, Chrysler, and Ford argued loudly, and I want you to hear this clearly, that mandatory seatbelts would ruin the styling of their vehicles and reduce sales. Styling. Styling was the reason they gave for not saving lives. Meanwhile, people were dying on American roads at a rate of nearly 40,000 per year. And the car companies knew it. It wasn't just the car companies. Even ordinary people resisted. A letter published in a Wisconsin newspaper in 1964 declared, as long as the life risked is his own, I believe the individual should decide whether or not to use safety belts. Customers were buying cars and physically removing the seatbelts before driving them. The idea of being strapped in felt, to many, like imprisonment. It took the United States Congress until 1966, 7 full years after Bohlin's invention, to require seatbelts in all new American vehicles. And even then, they weren't required to be used, just present. Mandatory seatbelt laws for drivers didn't begin arriving until the 1980s. New York became the first American state to require seatbelt use in 1984, 25 years after the solution already existed. 25 years. Roughly 1 million people who didn't have to die, but did, while the world argued about freedom and styling. Here is the thing about Nils Bohlin that separates him from almost every inventor in history. Volvo held the patent on the three-point seatbelt. They could have licensed it. They could have charged every car manufacturer on Earth for the right to use it. They could have built a patent empire worth billions. In 1959, the same year the belt was introduced, Volvo opened the patent to the entire world, completely free of charge. Any manufacturer, Any country, any car. Use it. No fee, no royalty, no contract. Their reasoning was simple, and I want you to sit with it for a moment. The value of saving lives was worth more than the value of owning the patent. That's it. That was the whole calculation. Life over money. In a century where that trade is almost never made by corporations, Volvo made it. Bohlin made it. Today, the three-point seatbelt is in every car, manufactured in every country on Earth. It is estimated to save the life of someone, somewhere in the world, every single minute. Nils Bohlin died in 2002 at the age of 82, quietly, without ceremony, in Sweden. He never became famous. He never became a billionaire. He was asked, near the end of his life, whether he regretted giving the patent away. He said he didn't. It is satisfying to know that my work has saved so many lives. The next time you slide into your seat, reach across your body and hear that click. You're carrying a small piece of a man who nearly drowned as a boy in Sweden and spent the rest of his life making sure nobody else would be taken by forces they couldn't control. Nothing is ever just what it looks like. Sometimes it's a gift. Origin Unlocked is all about the real story behind the things you use every single day without a second thought. Subscribe so you never miss one. Next week, an object in your house right now has a history that will make you put it down and stare at it differently forever.